Welcome to our Help Desk with Joe podcast, and this is show number 5 for Help Desk with Joe. And make sure you stay tuned in for more of our podcast, music, and news from other Patch shows and Patch with Community and Children First. So, Joe, show number 5.
Yeah, here we go.
Here we go. I know we were off the line for about 2 years, and now we're back, and we're plugging right along. So, Help Desk with Joe is very popular. It's one of our steadfast shows that we did through our broadcasting program, and now you're back in a new and improved format.
And now we're in a podcast form, so it's much easier on this part.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Well, what are we talking about today?
Okay, so today's news topics include Firefox turning on a controversial encryption. That was easy to say.
Oh, man.
Hackers peeping through vacuum cleaners. Apple Watch is possibly helping stroke patients. And then our main topic of discussion will be backing up computers.
Nice. Well, and if folks out there, I know this is show 5, you should be familiar with Joe, but if you're jumping in right now, Joe and Cena run local business here, A&M Digital Technologies out of Spencer, West Virginia, and you're here to help people with their technology needs. And today seems like one of those days where you're just, you have 4 topics that are just helping people.
Right.
Sometimes you talk about impacts of technology, like you talked about the coronavirus having an impact, which came true.
Yes.
So now it's profit, Joe.
Right.
But one of those things that you look at where this one is almost helping somebody, a consumer or this person at home, across the board with all these topics.
Right, and that's what we try to do is we try to take all the noise and news from technology and condense it down to just what's important to the everyday person, because a lot of that stuff with technology, unless you're a geek or a nerd like myself, it doesn't matter to the common person. So I actually try to filter through all that and pick out the news topics that will expand to a broader audience than just us nerds.
Yeah, and I like it. It's it was amazing to me when you talked about the coronavirus and how that impacts technology. You're right. I mean, it's hit the stock market. I watched the news this morning, and the stock market's plummeting because of the coronavirus. So the impact, and you mentioned that on the show, it's going to be farther than just when you get your Apple device.
Right.
It's going to have far-reaching consequences.
Right.
So you could start a second show now about Joe's stock market watches here, and
we don't want that.
But anyway, okay, all right. Well, let's get back on topic. Let's talk a little bit about Firefox. So tell me about Firefox and this controversial law.
Okay, so on Tuesday, The Verge reported that Firefox turned a controversial new encryption on by default for U.S. customers. And if you're not familiar with Firefox, Firefox is a browser alternative to like Google Chrome and Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge.
Right.
So what this does is Mozilla turned on by default DNS over HTTPS.
Wow,
Now,
you just said a lot of words that I have no clue about. Okay. So I'm sure you're going to break it down for me like always.
Okay, so what DNS is if you go to a website like google.com, you only have to remember the name google.com.
Right.
Well, on the back end of that, what DNS does is it's almost like it's the Internet's phone book.
Gotcha.
So instead of typing in the actual, I'm going to call it the telephone number, but in the technical term is IP address.
Right.
So instead of typing in the actual IP address of google.com, you just type in google.com. It's much easier to remember.
You've had me go to like 192.68.
Right.
I got you. Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Right.
That part anyway.
So what this does is it actually is a new standard that encrypts in part of your internet traffic that typically sends it over unencrypted connections. And as a result, this could possibly help cut down on your ISPs nosing into your business, where we've talked about doing Google searches for stuff, and all of a sudden, bam, Facebook has what you're searching for, and this company has it for this price.
Yeah.
So that's the positive side. The negative side is there's a lot of catchback on this as far as criticism from lawmakers and security experts say it hampers legitimate attempts by enterprise system administrators and lawmakers to block dangerous web content, aka snooping.
Oh, wow. So this will allow that door that's already open to be open on purpose?
Well, what this does is it helps cut. The intent is for less snooping. So the government's saying, well, if you have this turned on, then we can't protect you from dangerous websites. In other words, we can't see what you're doing.
Ooh.
And then companies are coming back and saying the same thing is, we can't monitor what you're doing, so employees could be playing Facebook or internet games or who knows what.
Yeah.
But Mozilla has actually came back and saying on the way their software is set up, that is, if it detects the computer itself set up in what they call an enterprise environment, it will be turned off by default, and they have to actually opt in to turn it on. So it's not going on automatically in, business enterprise environment.
I gotcha. So really, not their problem. The business should be monitoring this and take care of it on
Right.
their end.
Right.
As I understand it.
But the way the encryption works is it could possibly prevent, their filtering system from detecting it. But
Right.
Mozilla's already put that failsafe in place, so companies can still do their filtering. But, there's always an issue when governments say, this is bad because we can't protect you.
Yeah, yeah.
No, there's more to it than just protection.
Right. Yeah. Well, as you,
Yeah, that's a whole
in
other
some
topic.
opinions, and some other opinions, for a different place. That government overreach is always an issue.
Right. Don't get me wrong. There are good uses for that argument, but
not appropriate in this scenario.
what we've seen in the news over the years with national surveillance and all that, that's a whole other mess.
Well, it sounds like we'll get there here with the next topic.
Right.
So, tell me about hacked vacuum cleaners, because that when you told me that pre-show here, hey, we're going to talk about hacked vacuum cleaners, I was blown away. I was like, wait a minute, I use a vacuum cleaner, not often. You can ask my wife, not very often, but I don't know. Ours is not hackable.
Right.
Old school, but anyway, so I'm sure this is going to blow me away. So go ahead.
Okay, so hackers can possibly peep through Smart Vacuum's camera, and this research company actually proved that. CNET reports that Trifo Iron Pie vacuum cleaners, robot vacuums, which are similar to like the Roombas. Everybody knows what a Roomba is.
Right.
Well, this company Trifo Iron Pie makes one very similar to that, but it actually has a built-in camera.
Oh, wow. What's the point of the camera?
Okay, they actually put the camera in there for double duty. The fans of the swiveling, the camera is actually mounted as a possible security camera. This is how they market it. So then if somebody breaks into your house, you can run that there.
Drive the vacuum cleaner around with them?
Right, and you can see them, and they're not thinking anything of it. All it's just a sweeper going around cleaning the house.
I don't know why the vacuum cleaner's following me around.
Yeah.
How odd.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say surely the thieves would be savvy enough to figure that one out in a hurry, but then again,
Right, if they was breaking in the house to begin with, they were not.
Right. Probably not the brightest.
Right.
But still, after you walk in the third room and the vacuum cleaner's trailing you around like a puppy, I think I'd be like, all right, time out. Wait a minute. Why is this thing not vacuuming over in the corner?
Right, yeah. Why is it not hitting against the wall?
Yeah, doing its job. It's just following me around. That's odd.
Right.
Okay, anyway. So they're getting hacked.
Yeah, so the researchers with the company Checkmarks actually found the flaw and said that the way it's being hacked is the vacuum cleaner is Wi-Fi connected, so it connects to the internet.
Yeah.
And one of the worst is it allow remote attackers to access the video stream, so hackers could actually monitor and view your.
The same way you were talking last week about the
Ring cameras, yeah.
Yeah, the Ring cameras where people were putting them in their kids' room.
Right.
And, of course, getting hacked. So now, same scenario, similar scenario.
Right,
I guess.
except now the sweeper's coming into your bedroom.
Wow. Can they control the actual vacuum cleaner, you think? Or is it just...
once they get in and see the video stream, they could at least sit there and monitor.
Right. I wonder if they could steer the vacuum cleaner around to go where they want it.
Probably eventually. That's one of those, once you're in...
if the user can steer it from the internet, so I assume the hacker could well.
Right.
Wow. So you might see your vacuum cleaner, if you had one of these jobbies, just like you say, pull up beside you and start staring at you and be like, wait a minute.
Right. Something's not right.
This is freaky. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So they said that's a worst case scenario, and it also could say...
Wait a minute, there's a best case?
Yeah. In a bad situation, there is a best case scenario. And they said that they could also... since it sends a lot of the data unencrypted. So the way a lot of these vacuums work is they just through the artificial intelligence, when it first time it sweeps your house,
maps out your house.
Yeah, it maps out your house. So then a hacker could sit there and turn it on and watch it just basically draw a picture of the layout of your house on your phone while it's cleaning your house.
That would be huge if you were planning on breaking into somebody's house.
Yes.
You see that in all the movies. Hey, we're going to break into this whatever building. We need blueprints.
Right.
There they are.
There they are.
Wow. Okay. Scary stuff. Technology brings nice things, but also opens up that door.
Right. So Checkmarks, the research company that found it, actually contacted Trifo back in December, but the company has still failed to respond.
Oh, wow. So they don't even want to encroach on any information.
So that they haven't made this public knowledge. They haven't done anything to protect the consumer.
Well, Joe, when you go to the bathroom, make sure you close the door because your vacuum cleaner
It could come in.
Could be watching.
So they're actually recommending one of two things. You could actually just disconnect the vacuum, which would be my recommendation, disconnect it from the Wi-Fi.
Right.
And because a lot of these will actually, they come with remotes and anything, so you can run it from the remote control itself. So that's always a possibility. Or just tape over the camera. But in my thought is the safest way would be just disconnect it from the Wi-Fi, and then you don't have to worry about possible hackers.
Scary stuff. But, that's the world we live in today. People are taking advantage of having cool technology. I say cool, but, unique or better technology to take care of menial tasks.
Right.
I mean, the idea of somebody vacuuming for me is very appealing.
Right.
But by golly,
But
I don't want them to be able to take pictures of our house.
Yeah, knowing they're watching you while they're sweeping, that's a whole other.
Yeah, that's a different deal all the way around. All right, so let's talk about one that does sound good, Apple Watches and how they can help with stroke.
Yes. Apple and Johnson & Johnson, and Gadget reported this, have teamed up to detect atrial fibrillation, also known as AFib, in seniors. And they're actually working with apps that they already have apps on the Apple Watches. Dave, did you know this, that Apple actually has apps built in for fall protection or fall detection?
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a Samsung or Android user, I guess.
I am too, but I keep up on them.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about the Apple side of stuff, but that makes me think back to the commercial of help, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Exactly.
They press the button, so that's Apple's kind of fulfilling that role.
Yeah, the current Apple Watches out now is actually, if you fall and it detects it,
wow,
it will actually come on there automatically. You don't have to push that button, and it'll say, you have 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or whatever to respond. If not, then it automatically calls 911 or your emergency contact you've built into your watch when you set it up.
That's fantastic. I mean, that is a very viable service. I know, we've had some seniors here. We're in a senior center, and know of a couple of seniors that have fallen, and no one found them till the next morning when their caregiver came to check on them.
Right.
So they've been there all night, where that would be fantastic.
Right.
So great stuff.
So, I mean, and they've already made leaps and bounds, and if you just do a little research on Apple Watches, what they claim and what they're actually doing is so far different in a good way.
Right,
The Apple Watches are claiming we can do this, this, and this, and the researchers are actually finding, hey, you can, with what's already out on the market, you can do this, this, and this with it as far as health goes. And a lot of people are saying, there's several cases of people saying, hey, I was able to detect I had high blood pressure and was on risk of a heart attack before. And just by wearing an Apple Watch, because it kept saying, your blood pressure's high and this and that, and went to your doctor and kind of find out that, they was at high risk of a heart attack.
That's the kind of technology we like to hear about. And I know, my wife exercises quite a bit, so she tracks all her runs and calories. She's got that whole gamut going on. I started running a little bit and tracking my fitness as well. So it is kind of neat to have that positive impact with technology in your life. And now it's a very big impact with safety issues like that. And then, like you said, monitoring your blood pressure. Because when's the last time you had your blood pressure taken?
It's been a while.
Yeah, me too. That's what I was asking. I assume you and I are on pretty much the same page.
Right.
You get your blood pressure taken once every 2 years, 3 years, or
yeah, if you have to go to the doctor.
The dentist took my blood pressure the last time I was at the dentist.
Really?
Which is the first time that's ever happened.
I didn't know they did that.
I think it was for giving me X-rays on my teeth.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Was that okay? I was looking for our producer back here, and I got the shoulder shrug. Did they take yours? Okay, so yeah, they took hers too. So maybe it's Stan. Do you know if they took our kids? Don't know. I didn't ask either, but I assume they did. If they do X-rays now, they take your blood pressure.
I never knew that.
Which is good. I mean, I had my blood pressure for a year, so
right.
And that'd be the only way of high blood pressure would be caught on me, is by chance on that side.
Right.
So now I know it's an Apple topic.
Mm-hmm.
I assume this will be filtering over to Android as well. Surely they'll jump on that too.
They'll eventually play catch up. But the thing with Android is there's so many companies that's trying to make smartwatches with Android that none of them has really gained traction. I mean, Samsung Gear is like their most popular Android device, but for some reason Android just can't get off the ground on smartwatches.
Yeah, I have an Android Gear, and I like it. I wear it during soccer practice, and when I go somewhere where I don't want to obviously check my phone, I can just glance at my wrist.
Right.
But it's pretty neat. It has a health part on it that tracks me. I know during soccer season it tells me, so at some point I hooked up my fitness part to it, and it'll tell me you've reached your goal of 10,000 steps for the day or whatever.
Right. So
it tells me that. So it's monitoring at least that part of.
Right.
I'll have to check into that. I'll have to look into that. You got my interest peaked.
So actually, users can now enroll online for this beta program.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's actually free. So the only qualifications are you have to be a U.S. resident, 65 or older, have original Medicare, own an iPhone 6S or newer, and allow Apple and Johnson & Johnson access to your Medicare claims data.
Oh, nice. I mean, small price to pay to be able to save yourself if you go down with a stroke or a fall or anything like that.
Right, and they're saying that the link between atrial fibrillation and stroke isn't thoroughly understood, but AFib has very few warning signs, making it difficult to diagnose until
it happens, yeah.
until the stroke actually occurs. So they're actually hoping that with Apple Watch's electrocardiodiagram, the ECG, the features in it will actually be able to monitor and detect AFib that could possibly help prevent stroke.
Nice. Well, I know, from our training, stroke victims have a short window.
Yes.
To get quality care for what they need.
Right.
So that catching it quick is paramount.
Right. So if anyone's interested in that program, they can actually go to the website heartline.com for more information.
Nice. All right. Well, our final topic for the day is backing up computers. And I know, A&M, yourself and Cena, A&M Digital Technologies, you take care of all our technology needs, and I know you're in charge of our backup, and you stress to me all the time how important this is.
Exactly.
Because I'm very lackadaisical about it. So I assume I'll learn some more today about why you heckle me so much about staying up to date with my backups.
Right. And
so
actually,
fill me in.
So today's topic, as far as backing up goes, we're just going to cover desktops and laptops, and probably next episode we'll cover mobile devices, because that's a whole other
I was
arena.
going to say, I don't even know about backing up my mobile device.
Right. So backing in an ideal world, a perfect backup solution is what they call the 3-2-1 setup, where you have 3 copies of your data on 2 different media formats, and one of those formats being off-site, whether it be a physical hard drive at a different location or online.
Okay.
And it's 2020, Dave, and even last week I had a customer bring me a drive saying, work your magic, and I couldn't because that was only 1 copy of the data.
Yep.
And
well, I remember probably when we started talking about doing podcasts, you were telling me about a customer you just came from. This is probably 4 or 5 months ago, and you had said they had 3,000 family photos that were all gone.
Right, yeah.
And there's nothing you could do because that was the only place they had them, and the damage was so extensive it was just a loss, and it's devastating.
Right, and to actually try to recover that data gets very expensive very quickly because we have tools to try to recover data, but our tools are very limited just based off of what we have. To actually do it, to do big time data recovery requires what they call a clean environment, and it's basically as clean like an operating room, dust free. They go in, the whole setup, and a lot of those companies, they won't talk to you unless you cut them a $2,000 check.
Oh wow!
To get started, and then even then you have to sign a waiver saying they can't guarantee any, if at all, data will be recovered.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a risky deal to try to make guarantees on recovering someone's data, so that's scary.
Right. So with the 3-2-1, we always recommend is having your original copy. That's 1 copy.
Yep.
Now, a misconception with a lot of people is they'll buy the external hard drive, and then they'll just take the data from their computer and put it on the external hard drive, and then delete the data from their computer. So now
you're down to 1 copy again.
Yeah.
Right back where you started.
Right. So they say, well, it's on my backup drive, but it's 1 copy. No, it's my backup, but you just deleted your main copy. Yeah, but it's on my backup. Yeah. No, you're not understanding it. Backup is, that's like saying I bought a new car, so I sold my old car, so now I have a backup car. No, you sold that 1 car, so now you're back down to 1 car.
I take it from the way you're animated talking about this. This happens a lot.
Yes. Here's a frustration bubbling up there.
How many times have you had this conversation just this week?
Yeah.
All right, so that's a great point. No, I've just saved myself, but I just cut my lifeline.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and when we meet, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, all right, yeah, you're. Whew.
So, and what we mean by 2 different media formats is either thumb drive and external drive, or online and external drive. Just 2 different means of backing up. And with one being off-site. And the recommendation is always keep it at least 25 miles away. If you're going to do 2 copies on like external hard drives or thumb drive. And that's just for protection from natural disaster, fire, flood, hurricane, whatever.
I was going to ask, what does 25 miles separate you from? But that makes sense. If you, I know around here a lot of people live close to their own family, like, the mom lives next door or right by or, down the block. And but yeah, if something happened with it, if you're near a flood area like the flood that hit southern Roane County and northern Kanawha County, I mean, it devastated a 10-mile swath of area.
Right.
And everybody like out at Amma got hit. There wasn't a person out that way that, got away from that if you were in the flood area.
Well, let me give you the most perfect example of backup, offsite backup failure ever documented.
Really?
9/11.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
The Twin Towers, the North Tower was a backup for the South Tower, and the South Tower was a backup for the North Tower. Both towers are down.
Yep.
Everything was gone.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And I can see it, like I say, around here, a flood hits 30 people. It doesn't just hit one most often.
Right, and that's one thing they never dreamed of. It's like, well, yeah, if the building catches on fire,
yeah.
The building next door has us covered. Well, and then we seen what happened, so that's where they started implementing, okay, at least 25 miles away.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Now, what would you tell someone that's lazy like myself that would say, well, I'm too lazy to go 25 miles away to get my external drive and then bring it back, update it, and then take it back 25 miles? What would you?
So there's actually several solutions. We actually sell and are actually a partner with Carbonite. Now,
Yes.
Carbonite is not paying for this publicity, but we actually.
I know this because I pay for Carbonite for patch.
Right, and the way Carbonite works is it's an online backup, and it's completely secure. It meets federal HIPAA guidelines, which, if you're not familiar with HIPAA is your Health Information Patient Privacy Act.
Yep.
So working 10 years in a hospital, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's
well,
where
we have to abide by those as well. That's how you talk. You didn't talk me into it. You said, this is what you need to do because we handle sensitive information.
Right. And with HIPAA compliance,
sell.
it has to meet qualifications to hold all your medical records, your medical history, your medical data. So if it meets those recommendations in my book, that's good enough for me. So if it can house my medical records, it can house my data.
It passed Denise's screening. She did the background check on it and said, okay, yeah, you're good to go. Denise has 27 years of HR experience.
Right. So yeah, if we meet...
If it gets a green light from her, you're good.
Yeah. So, and the way it works is, by default, it backs up your My Documents. It backs up everything in your Pictures folder, your Videos folder, your Desktop folders. By default, it does not back up your programs. It only backs up your data.
Right.
And then it also gives you the ability to, if you have different folders in different areas on your system, you can actually turn those on to backup manually. And they actually have two different solutions. Now, I'm not going to talk about pricing because depending on when you listen to this, I don't want to get in that whole pricing war.
Yeah, it's a different deal.
Right. So, but they actually have two different solutions. They have one for personal, and then they have one for business, and they have great competitive pricing on both, and we can actually help you guys with all that. And we'll actually put a link in the show notes that they can actually sign up for a free trial through us, through Carbonite, and it's all through Carbonite and all that.
And that's such a good call, especially on your part, because I remember you coming in and talking to us, because we used to back up with a hard drive that sat right beside our desk.
Right.
And you came in and you're like, holy cow, this is not what you need to be doing. And I was like, but Joe, it's right here. And you're like, but what if this whole place catches on fire? You just lost everything.
Right.
After I just got done telling you how important everything was to me, because we have, grants,
right,
all this information. And you're like, yeah. And I remember that's why we switched to the online deal, because it made it A, easy.
Right.
And B, you could help monitor it as well to make sure that it was doing what it's supposed to do. And then C, it was off-site.
Right, because with the accounts we actually manage, I get an email every week, letting me know, and I don't see any of your data. All I see is, okay, I see your name, and then I see that all backups are up to date, or I have one device that hasn't been backed up for 2 weeks, so I'll call you. It's like, Dave, what's going on?
Well, I remember you called me not too long ago and just saying, hey, you're out of space.
Right.
Or you're not out of space. You said you're getting a warning light that your space is becoming limited.
Right.
And that you need to either A, clean some stuff out, or get more space, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I mean, I got 17 years worth of stuff, so I'm sure.
Right. And so what's nice with Carbonite is it constantly sits and monitors unless you adjust it to only back up during certain times. So there's no muss, no fuss, no worry on your end. Plus, with Carbonite, on every file that it backs up, it puts a little dot.
Yeah.
And it tells you, depending on the caller, that if the file is going to be backed up or if it's already been backed up.
Yep.
So it takes the guesswork out of, is my data actually being backed up?
Well, the best part for me is you keep monitoring on it for me,
right,
as our technology contract So you call me and say, hey, listen, because I get the notices too, but oftentimes I don't know what they mean.
Right.
And but I know if I get one that you'll be calling soon and saying, hey,
right,
this is happening with Carbonite, and you need to look. We need to make some decisions.
Right.
So
But
I get a good double service out of this deal because I got Joe and Cena watching my back with what's backed up, and Carbonite doing its job.
right. So now, if you're from the standpoint, I don't trust the cloud, I don't trust my data on there, which is fine. You know, we have customers like that.
Sure.
At the end of the day, as long as you have your stuff backed up, I don't care how it's. I do care how it's backed up, as long as it's backed up properly and securely.
Right.
But you know, as long as it's being backed up, I don't care if you use, you know, a different solution. But if you're not comfortable with the cloud, always at least go with an external hard drive. And most manufacturers of external hard drives, they come with built-in free backup software.
Yeah.
That if you actually do the work of installing the software, it'll sit there and back everything up automatically.
Yep.
So
I remember ours did that.
So there's literally no excuse as to why you shouldn't have a backup. And most backup drives are around $100.
Yep.
So why not spend that $100 insurance policy versus paying possibly thousands and taking a gamble on getting your data back in a disaster recovery situation?
Or just losing your, you know, like when you were telling us, you know, 3,000 family photos. My goodness, that's soul crushing.
Yes.
You know, is that worth $100? Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Is that worth a 20-mile drive or 10-mile drive or, you know, whatever? Yes.
Right. Well,
so
and
that's an easy choice.
And the people that actually do the 25 miles, whatever, you know, that if they have family members that live far away, what they'll do is they'll just back up their data and then put it in like a UPS package and then mail it to them.
Yep.
So, you know, $3-4 to ship it.
Yeah, you can
for
get
backup.
it there.
You know,
Not
that's
a big deal.
Right.
Nice. Well, I know it definitely works well for us, and I remember, how long have you been in business with A&M?
We will be in business 10 years in August.
Man, you read my mind. I was going to say it's been at least 10 years, I think, that you came in our office and shook your head and said, man, we got to make some changes on your technology here. You're not doing very well, and it's been good changes across the board. So I can attest, the backup 321 plan is by far a smart thing to do,
right,
and also a responsible thing to do,
right.
And as you said, it's nice that you give a couple of different options, because I know Carbonite charges us an annual fee. I don't know how much it is. It's not very much, really, comparable, but as you said, there's easy solutions. Use a jump drive. How much is
a jump drive? You're talking $20-30.
Yeah, at the most. Yeah,
right.
I mean, you can buy some of the cheaper ones if you don't have a lot of information, but you know, if you're my mom and you're listening to this, hey, you know, you're going to need like one of the big jump drives, because she's got 2,000 photos.
Right.
But based on your needs. So if someone is struggling with this the same way that I do, you know, I'm not technologically savvy. I don't catch everything you're saying, but I realize the importance.
Right.
How they get a hold of you and go that route.
Okay. And this is something we do for our customers all the time as far as helping with backups. They can give us a call at our office at 304-927-3588. Visit our website at amdigitaltechnologies.com or check us out on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, at amdigitaltech.
All right.
And check us out on our podcast feeds,
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Help Desk with Dave and Joe. And also be sure to check out the Patch Turned Up podcast as well.
Yep. So we got a lot of different platforms, but I can't stress this enough, and this is my own personal opinion. You know, I'm the executive director of a nonprofit organization, and our data is very important to us. That is one of the best things that I feel that we've done to protect ourselves in the technology aspect, just because I know all the 17 years worth of work we've put in is protected.
Right.
And I know it because it monitors and tells me, and I know you also tell me, so having two valid sources makes me sleep easier at night knowing that all our stuff is taken care of.
And it makes me sleep easier knowing that I don't have to worry about that call of Joe.
Yeah.
I lost everything.
Now you get the call for different reasons. Joe, my computer, I don't know. You just got to come look at it. I can't even explain it over the phone.
Right.
So good stuff across the board. All right. So many thanks to A&M Digital Technologies. And, of course, we can't forget the big credit goes to Cena, who's doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes.
Right. And Cheryl will be in here today.
Yeah. And many thanks to our I don't even know what title to give her here, to the assistant step-in producer for the day, the emergency producer for today, Cheryl, who's behind the desk here helping us out, because it is daytime. Our normal students that run the studio and stuff are at school, or they better be at school.
Yes, hopefully.
So
they should be.
We had to fill in today with just us here with the adults. So a big thank you to Cheryl, and of course A&M Digital Technology, taking care of all our technology needs, including our backup. Here in local Spencer, West Virginia. Get a hold of them if you have any questions or have any problems. If you have any questions about any of the topics that Joe's covered today, you've mentioned Firefox, the hacked vacuum cleaners, the Apple Watches, and the stroke risk, not risk, but stroke help, I guess.
Possible detection, yes.
Yeah, possible detection. And, of course, the main topic with backups. If you have any questions on that, get a hold of Joe and Cena, A&M Digital Technologies. They'll be more than happy to take care of you.
Or if you have a topic that you'd like for us to cover in a podcast, we would love to do that.
Good point. We don't get a lot of feedback, which is surprising.
Right.
We had that conversation with a couple of our other podcasters about, hey, nobody's giving any feedback. And I'm like, normally the Facebook warriors and the keyboard warriors just hit you hard on any and everything. But when we throw it out there, hey, comment on what you'd like to see, we rarely get any feedback.
So either we're doing something right or we must not have messed up too bad yet.
Yeah, you might be answering all the questions like, you covered it. No need for me to comment. So,
right.
Or, Joe, you're doing a great job. These are awesome topics. So I'll take it that way.
There we go.
Gold star for Joe.
Sounds perfect.
All right. Well, this is David with Patch, and you've been listening to Help Desk with Joe, and this is show number 5. And stay tuned in for more music, podcasts, and news from our Patch students in our Patch program here and our Patch community with children and community first.